Well, hello, model car fans. Welcome to the Muscle Car Modeler. I am Rao, and here we are continuing work on our Revell 71 Boss 351 Mustangs. The pair of them here that is sponsored by Hobby Nut Models, as they provided both of these kits plus the MCW paint that I'm using on the outside here. And I'll just take a moment to thank Mark for that and everything he does for the channel. I do appreciate that, and I know you guys are following along and really enjoying this. So here I'm moving on, a little bit more progress here to show you guys and what's going on here. While I got the paint on, I did some more work and some more painting on it. So as you can tell, I got the silver on this one, and I also shot the underside white. So I airbrushed the same white that I used, the ermine white from Scale Finishes that I had left over from Ghostbusters. Shot the last of it in there for the interior. So I used it on the seats and the door panels and stuff. And now the headliner. I don't have a whole lot of luck brush painting white myself. Black I do, but not white. So like this one, that's brush painted on the inside of the semi-gloss black. And that's where I used the tester semi-gloss black there. So I brushed that, got that all kind of detailed and where I want it, and I'll get some spray on the inside. So this one, I did silver spray on here on the inside and outside, but I spray painted that and then some on the back section here. So because I didn't know how far the decal went in here, so I went and shot silver there as well, as long as here. So shot these pieces as well. And I used this. I got tipped off on one of the many places I was watching other people build, and I'm not sure if it was on Facebook or Scale Auto Forum, but somebody had mentioned TS76 from Tamiya is a real nice match for the decals, and I'm like, all right, I'll go for it. Andy's Hobby headquarters actually carries this, along with another hobby shop here locally. So I swung by his store and picked up a can. I'm like, all right, I'll give that a shout, as it seemed like a very good tip. Plus, it sprays really nicely, and it has a semi-satin gloss finish, which is what I was shooting for. Initially, I was going to go with the gloss finish, and when I was thinking this builds in my head, I was going to use Scale Finishes paint, which is a base coat, and I was going to do the colors just like this, and then put the decals on and clear coat the entire car, which is how I want to do it, and that's how I prefer to build it. But as asking questions online and finding pictures and finding out that I knew the semi-gloss black on the hoods was semi, but the silver I couldn't tell. And it supposedly is supposed to be a somewhat semi-gloss finish as well, and not gloss coated, but many of them have been gloss coated as they were restored and everything. And I can understand why, because it's easier to maintain the finish and on the car versus the semi-gloss, and when it comes to waxing it and everything. So I haven't done anything on the underside of this, but I also masked off the engine compartment and airbrush these two as well, but I haven't brush painted the underside. I will touch that up with brush paint on the underside, but the top side has been airbrushed. And the semi-gloss, I did try the MCW semi-gloss black. So, but with this, you really do have to shake it up really, really good. And I've fallen victim to that with testers as well sometimes, where it really settles at the bottom. So sometimes the longer you use it, the more flat it will get. But this one, I thought I shook it up enough, and because I really shook it and shook it and shook it. So I thought I had enough. So when I did the engine compartment here, it came out pretty gloss black. And it's spraying kind of thick, and I was doing it in dry coats, which is kind of why it has a little bit of texture to it, but it's still kind of gloss. And I'm gonna just kind of leave that, as it takes a bit of work to redo that. And I did this in place, as I mentioned before. I did this in place at first, and then I pull it out, get in here where it doesn't get very well and under the channels here. So I spray that, then I put it back in place to do some of the rest of it. So the red was done ahead of time, which you saw, and then I went ahead and put that in place and blacked out the engine compartment. And once that was done, I pulled out the silver, which this is not from the spray can. I actually put the aluminum I got from Scale Finishes, which can dry very textured, but it covers really, really well. So this is just a couple of really light shots with the airbrush going around here, trying to give you the silver, but it actually matches this really well to give you an idea. So to give it the overspray under the chassis in the silver, which is why this one is silver and this one is black, because on the car the stripes are painted other than a top section, even though Revell gives you almost full coverage with the decals, although I haven't experienced that part yet. I did paint this gas tank, haven't painted this one yet, and the silver got a little too far over on this side, that I think, but I haven't decided if I'm going to get my red out and airbrush touch this up a little bit or just kind of leave it, because it depends on which angle you look at it. The silver reflects and makes it pop, or it kind of looks too much. And then this red, it's to be red oxide primer, it needs to actually be a little bit darker red than what I've got here, but that's what I had on hand and I went with it. So, and then the trans mount will be painted black because that's a separate piece installed later. And then I'll paint the sway bar steel. Just kind of pick some things out to really make the chassis pop and look pretty good. Now, after mixing it, what I ended up doing is, after I had shot some of it and got the initial thing, I added more thinner to the bottle, so 25% reduction, but I reduced the entire bottle. There's no hardener in this that I use, so I don't have to worry about that part of it. And then I shook it like crazy to where once you can turn it upside down and see that there was no scent of it, and let it settle and it washed away. I could see it was thoroughly mixed, but I really shook the heck out of this thing to get it mixed up good. And that seemed to work. So that's why some of these other parts have come out a bit more satin than some pieces, depending on when I shot them. But this had another layer of gloss on it, and just shot them at different things. So I got a little bit different sheens out of the same bottle. So it's kind of funny, but that's just the way it is. Only because I really didn't shake it that well. But I got the decals trimmed up. I'm going to start laying them on there to see how they look. So, but as you can see, the decal to the silver, there's a real nice match there. So it really looks like, once it's laying on top, it'll be my final truth on that to tell me what's going on there. So while I did that, I also shot these pieces in the semi-gloss black. So got all those done and did the center of the hood, same as I did that one. But still gotta, I'll detail paint that piece as well later. But like this one, I've done the inside, but I haven't shot any of this stuff right here or back here. Still got to mask all that off and do it. And then on that one later, I had masked this off and shot it separately, the engine compartment. So I'll do that in another step on that one a little later and get going. Oh, and something else was brought to my attention. Thanks to you guys that are watching and everything. It was noticed that I had painted my intake manifold blue. The instructions tell you to paint it blue with that big air cleaner and everything on it in the engine photos. I didn't really notice that the intake was aluminum. So one of you guys had commented, hey, by the way, just to let you know, the intake on the Boss 351 is raw aluminum and not painted blue. I'm like, oh, okay. It wasn't too late for me to go ahead and brush paint that and touch that up. Still had to do the fuel pump. So that's steel, that's aluminum, the fuel pump's aluminum, and it's about ready to start putting the engine together. And the chassis is pretty far along. Like this one, I shot the blue in here, but shot the silver. But I'll paint the tank steel, paint that black, paint the straps black, and start working on some of the assembly on those parts and getting it together. And like I shown you, the interior's pretty much ready. Underside's red, but that mates up pretty good. But you can kind of see the flakes and everything in there, but I'm kind of torn on whether or not I'm going to touch that up with some more red or just leave it, because most people aren't going to, they'll notice the overspray And then once you got the drive shaft and everything in there, the exhaust and axles and everything, it won't be quite as obvious. So it's looking pretty good in my eyes. I'm liking how it's turning out and getting the overspray on the sides here between the two. You can kind of see with this one, since I don't have this piece in there, where the overspray got and where it didn't get. But oh, and you might have to, open these holes up just a little bit, as it's a little bit of a tight fit, and as you get paint buildup in there, it gets a little tighter. This one wasn't so bad, but I shot this with testers. But this one, being the MCW paint, which is a little thicker, I had to do it. So getting this off, you can kind of see where the little white plaster, I opened up the holes a little bit more for the black paint. I didn't have to do it where the red paint was, because that's testers versus MCW. But I got some silver overspray in here on purpose as well. Just trying to detail that and see how it comes out. So pretty happy with how it's going and going along here. So I'm going to continue on here, and I'll get the decals on both of these and some more painting on that. So next time you should see this, the bodies should be done and fully decaled, and I'll do an update video at that point. So hopefully I'll get that done in the next week. But those of you guys that are enjoying this and following along, thank you for your comments and everything. I really do appreciate it. And hit that subscription button and the like button and share with your friends and everything. Really do appreciate it. It helps everybody out. And I'm having a good time doing this and enjoying all your comments and any of your tips or anything that you guys have to share that are building these as well. So thank you for tuning in and all that stuff and all your comments. You guys, you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next Saturday.